Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Frank Lavernia. My friends call me Frank, but in this podcast, I'm going to be known as Sugar Daddy. Yep, that's right, heads up. I will not be sugarcoating any of what I have to say about diabetes or regarding any issues with diabetes. After I finished my training, I want to go over a little bit about who I am. After I finished my training in Chicago, I realized that I could not live the rest of my life in this cold weather, the blizzards, the shoveling. So I ended up coming back to the tropics where I'm originally from. Was born in Cuba, but due to the Castro brothers, we had to leave the country and we headed up to Chicago and lived there through my grade school and high school and college days. And after training, I realized that I wanted to do private practice, and I moved to South Florida. And I ended up in the North Broward area where I began my practice. While I was there, I started a diabetes center that lasted for over a decade. And I also got to speak all over the U.S. Working for different faculties. So you could say I've been around the block. So retirement came after 40 years of practice, and I was wondering what I was going to do since I was keeping up with medicine, and I decided to do some volunteering work at a free community-based clinic in the south part of Palm Beach. But anyway, enough about me. I'd like to introduce my fantastic colleague that we happened to meet at the clinic, Carrie O'Day. She's a certified physician. She says assistant, I call her an associate. She was the powerhouse who helped launch a CGM program at the clinic, and that was a real game changer. And I suggest that anybody that might be listening to this, that they think about either having a CGM placed on them, or if you're a physician listening to that, to really get involved with CGMs, because it was really a game changer.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Carrie. I'm from another cold place. I'm from Alaska. But down here in South Florida now, and I've worked a long time in different internal medicine capacities, but most recently I met Frank at the clinic that he was telling you about, and I think we just kind of connected because we love medicine, we love research, we love reading, we love education, and the CGM program was really fun to set up, and it was really educational for us and for the patients. And I sort of think that some of the things we learned there maybe spawned our idea of wanting to teach people, a broader population, on this podcast. Two things that we really saw with CGMs. Number one, patients learned a lot more about their disease, a lot more about their diabetes with having that instant feedback, being able to look and see when they did something, what the result was. And then I think another thing we noticed is that as soon as patients had that knowledge, it was really empowering to them. They were actually able to make changes. They understood why the changes needed to be made. And I think that's, again, educating is the only way that people are going to be able to understand why and how to make changes. So
I've noticed that of all the chronic disease states that we have treated in the past, the one disease state that really needs the most education is diabetes.
Yeah.
And, we always welcome patients that were engaged in their own care versus some of the patients that would just say, well, you're the doctor, you're the healthcare provider, you take care of me.
Right.
And in diabetes, they really have to be engaged in their own disease state. And some of them, and this is another thing we found out in the clinic, was that they had very low health literacy.
Yeah.
So I remember we took the gloves off and we learned right away to ask a simple question: can you read and write?
Right.
And some of them would lie to us and say, no, I can read. And when we gave them a sheet to read, they would look down ashamed that they couldn't read. And we said, no, that's fine. We need to know this so we can really get information to you in different ways. And we'll discuss what we did in future podcasts to get through that low health literacy. But getting back to the CGMs, it's really been a game changer. Glucometers were a game changer.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think back that, we didn't have glucometers, that we were checking urines with dipsticks. And we found out later that you had to be over 180 milligrams per deciliter before you spilled sugar in the urine. And that's how we were treating it before glucometers. And now we have CGM. So things are getting a lot better. We have A1Cs. We're going to get into what those entities are. I had been reading about this phenomenon called the social determinants of health, and I never really understood what that was until I was in practice at the clinic. And I'm going to give you some examples of things that happened there that I was very taken aback. One experience was we had this gentleman, Jose, come in late. We would start clinic at 8:30 and he kind of wandered in at 10:30. So I said, hey, Jose, what's going on? You're 2 hours late to the game. And he apologized profusely. He explained to me that his third bus was late. And I felt very small because I was used to having people come in their big cars 15, 20 minutes before their office visit. And I realized I was in a totally different ballgame. Another time we had Miguel come in and he was telling me about what he did for work, and he basically sat all day. He was obese, and I explained to him that, look, I know you're tired from work, but when you get home, you got to go out in the neighborhood and do some walking because we got to increase your activity level. And then he told me, and I'll never forget, I can't walk in my neighborhood. It's not safe after dark. Oh. And the third social determinants of health that I experienced was when I asked them to, one of the lady patients, I asked her where she went shopping for food. I mean, did she use one of the big grocery chain stores that we have down here? And then she kind of looked at me, says, first of all, I don't have a car, and those grocery chain stores don't exist in my community. So I go, where do you get your food? And he says, many of them were getting it at dollar stores, which to me is like a carbohydrate center. So
Chips.
Yeah, chips.
And more chips.
And it was really a real awakening to me that it was a total different type of practice. So for me, it was a good experience to have been at both ends. But let's shift gears for a moment and let's talk a little bit about what actually happens in the offices. I came across this very recently, and it kind of shocked me to realize that nearly 80% of physicians are employed by hospitals or corporate entities on a study done in 2024. So a lot of people wonder, what's going on in the offices, and that's what's going on. It's a business, and patients aren't clear about that, and we're going to get a lot into that in the near future when we discuss that. So if you feel that your visits are rushed, they can be because the corporate entities knocking on the doctor's notes.
Right. Insisting that they see so many patients an hour in order for them. And I do think most physicians would like to spend more time. Most providers would like to spend more time, but these limitations that are here now are here to stay.
Yeah. Something you have a lot more experience than I have had, because I came from the era where I was writing my notes. But electronic health records have a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. But one of the things that a lot of the doctors are complaining about is how much time it takes away from the office visit, and how impersonal it is when you don't make eye contact and you're focused on looking at and filling out the electronic health record.
Yeah.
I mean, do you go home sometimes and don't finish?
Yeah, I go home almost every night and do a few things. I always make sure I do things that I might forget when I leave the room. But I do think that sometimes when I'm typing and I'm looking and I'm deleting, it seems like I'm not paying attention to the patient. What I'm actually trying to do is get that information down so it can help in the future when I see the patient again. Maybe if another provider in the facility sees the patient in a day or two, maybe something's changed. And if I don't get all that information down, it's not going to help care for the patient. But it does seem impersonal when someone's typing on a computer and looking at the computer and not looking at you.
So, bottom line, and this is what this whole podcast is about, is convincing people about the importance, and this is very crucial, to take control of your diabetes, your hypertension, your high blood pressure, your lipids, your cholesterol, and any other complications ASAP, as soon as possible. Because the longer you wait to get under control, the chances of you having a serious complication is much, much higher. And I think that's the part I struggle the most with patients. When I have a patient saying, I feel fine, why should I be taking all these medications?
Yeah, I think it makes sense for patients when they're not feeling well that they want to take something. But if they feel okay, and maybe even if the medicine you give them in the beginning makes them feel even less okay, why on earth would they want to do that? But education, we can teach why. Well, because down the road, if you don't take care of that, there'll be things that are very uncomfortable or that can't be changed at a certain point.
So people with, say, high cholesterol, within a year they stop their statin.
Yeah.
Or they take it 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
I feel fine. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
And then when they come in and we get their labs, we see that they're not taking their medication.
Yeah, and then we know down the road, all the time that they have spent in these levels that are too high are causing deposits in their arteries, are going to cause down the road problems that are actually going to be, that they are going to feel, but at that point are going to be hard to do anything about.
So again, bottom line, we tell the patients that they have to have skin in the game.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, we can't go home with them and put out their meds. So anyway, we hope to hear from you. We do have an email. It's called sugardaddypod@yahoo.com. We'll be sending it over many times. And thanks for hanging with us. And we hope to see you next week. Don't forget to subscribe.
And yep, send your questions. We'd love to answer them.
Bye.